Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and today I have a positive Marshon Lattimore injury update. Also, Quinn is apparently going all in for this 6th seed at NFC playoffs. He is not satisfied with only getting the 7th seed. We're going to dive into all of that. Also, Rivera on the way to the New York Jets. We're going to dive into everything and more, but before we do, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. What a great win last night. Y'all know I'm going to keep y'all updated on everything Commanders for this upcoming regular season finale versus the Dallas Cowboys. But remember, this is not our season finale overall, just regular season, because we got some postseason to get to. So make sure you stay tuned. I will be live streaming this upcoming game against the Dallas Cowboys, and I'll be live streaming all of our playoff games, plural, so stay tuned for all of that. And even when we get to the off season, we're still gonna live stream a lot of Sundays and even do call-in shosh during the off season as well when we talk free agency and draft and all of that. So make sure you stay tuned with this channel 24/7 365. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so I feel like let's go ahead and start with Marshon Lattimore. I'm assuming that probably most people that clicked on this video wanted to come for that, so we'll go ahead and get that out the way first. And so, Marshon Lattimore apparently did some running today, according to Quinn in his press conference that he had after practice. He said that they will have a better sense of his availability later this week. And I know that is not necessarily like the most definitive evidence or reporting that Marshon Lattimore is good to go this upcoming game against the Dallas Cowboys, but remember that he was not running at all before the games that he did not end up playing in. So I'm not saying that him running earlier today in practice means that he's automatically going to be healthy enough to play against the Dallas Cowboys, but I am saying that him running is a far more positive update than what we were getting before games that he ended up missing out on. So this is like closer to Marshon Lattimore is healthy. Basically, my point is he sounds healthier right now than he did like the few weeks that he missed games. So again, I'm not saying that he's good to go. He's 100% for the Dallas Cowboys, but at the very least, hopefully he'll be ready for the playoffs. And boy, we gonna need him, boy. I mean, that man St. Juice and Michael Davis, man, they were basically going back and forth to see who could sell us the hardest versus the Atlanta Falcons, man. And I believe Michael Davis may have won that battle as the worst corner between the two, man. But even with all of that selling that Michael Davis did throughout that game, this coaching staff still prefer to throw him out there as much as possible, and most importantly in those clutch late game situations. They prefer to throw Michael Davis out there over St. Juice. So that should tell you everything you need to know about the state of this current Commanders cornerback situation with Marshon Lattimore hurt. It's not good at all. But the good thing is Marshon Lattimore can take his time coming back, because we should be able to beat the Cowboys without Marshon Lattimore. But then again, we said that last time, right? But most importantly, no matter if we end up with the 6th seed after beating the Dallas Cowboys this upcoming Sunday at 1 p.m. or if we end up with the 7th seed because we lose to the Cowboys and the Packers win another game, either way, Lattimore will have another few weeks to get as healthy as possible for the wild card playoff game that we have coming up after the end of the regular season. So either way, I feel like he should be good to go by then. I'm very optimistic based off of hearing the fact that he's already running right now, December 30th, and we don't have to worry about the playoffs until we're well into January. I think he should be good to go, and I think things should be fine. We'll see though. I'm gonna keep y'all updated because we'll get an official like injury report on Wednesday, whether he didn't participate in practice, if he was limited, if he was full, all of that type of stuff. So y'all already know I'm gonna keep y'all updated on those things as we go throughout the week. Wednesday's practice, Thursday's practice, Friday's practice, and like the official reports of who's questionable out, things like that. Y'all already know how I do, man. But also, speaking of injuries, Quinn said that he has a lot of trust in Michael Dieter, who's right now our backup center but had to start because Tyler Biadasz got hurt. Trent Scott, who's our 3rd string right tackle, because he had to play. Andrew Wiley got hurt before the game even started. He was never even active. And then Cornelius Lucas even at a certain point got hurt in that game, who's our 2nd string right tackle. So we were down to our 3rd string right tackle, and All of those guys had to play on Sunday last night against the Falcons, but Dan Quinn said that he has trust in those guys. And I don't necessarily have trust in those guys playoffs-wise, but Dallas Cowboys-wise, I don't know. I think we could survive and still end up clinching that 6th seed even with those backups in the game. Which takes me to my next point, talking about seeding. Dan Quinn apparently has no plans of sitting the starters against his former team, the Dallas Cowboys. And that boy Dan Quinn is on a revenge tour, man. He just beat his own former Atlanta Falcons team that he was the head coach for. And then he was just the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys the previous 3 years. He's up with that rematch as well, and it sounds like he's not taking it easy on either of his revenge game teams, because Dan Quinn was asked about playing guys who were banged up on week 18, the final game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys regular season finale. He said exactly, and this is coming straight from him, quote, "We're going to go after this as hard as we can. The seeding part of it, we think it is really important. And we realize having the 6th seed is a good thing, and we're going to fight like hell to keep that," unquote. Because remember, we do currently have the 6th seed over the Green Bay Packers right now. Like, without the final week of football of the regular season, if the playoffs were to start next week instead of us having another regular season game against the Dallas Cowboys, we would be the 6th seed matched up against the Los Angeles Rams right now. But say we lose to the Cowboys this upcoming Sunday and the Green Bay Packers beat whoever they're playing, we move right back to the 7th seed. But either way, we're in the driver's seat for this 6th seed right now, and Dan Quinn does not want to let up on that. He feels like having that 6th seed is huge. So maybe he doesn't want to play the Philadelphia Eagles for a 3rd time. That's what it maybe sounds like, or something like that. But it sounds like not only he, but this entire team is going in with the mentality of let's beat the Dallas Cowboys no matter what. We want that 6th seed. We want to beat the Cowboys, so don't expect them to sit starters. And if they do, maybe like it will be at a point where maybe we get a big enough lead or something like that, and then we're able to sit the starters because of that. But again, just to keep in mind, 6th seed over the Packers means you're likely going to play the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles, and you know they don't have like a super heavy fan base, and that's a type of environment that we could travel to and at least try to make it 50-50 Commanders fans, Rams fans versus the Eagles, who not only will we be playing for a 3rd time this season, and those games can go either way and it's always ugly, but also it's harder to go into Philadelphia and try to take over that stadium with the Washington Commanders fan base. So even just from that alone, I would prefer to play the Rams, but y'all already know me, man. Y'all already know my personality. I ain't ducking no static with anybody, but the Rams, schematically, talent-wise, and even just home field advantage-wise, definitely give us a better chance to beat them versus having to play the Eagles in Philadelphia. So I would prefer that 6th seed, just like Dan Quinn said. But even if we end up with the 7th seed, let's go. Let's boot up, and we about to go ahead and win our first playoff game anyway and take care of the Eagles, Rams, whoever it is. And I'm also still on the fence on this debate topic as far as like, should we sit our starters versus the Cowboys, or should we go ahead and play them? I mean, I would love to do whatever it takes to not only get that 6th seed, but also avoid getting swept by the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry, little Cowboys, and how bad they've been this season, all of the injuries and everything like that. That would be crazy to look back and be like, yeah, we made the playoffs and maybe we won some playoff games or whatever, but to get swept by the Cowboys is inexcusable. We swept the Giants. We split the Eagles 1-1. I don't care what the reason it is, even if it's because we sat our starters the final game of the season. You get swept by the Cowboys, that is an ugly taint on what a great season we've had this year. But at the same time, I really don't want any more starters getting hurt. Again, we got to the point we were on our 3rd string right tackle, our backup center. We don't have, I mean, our top several receivers are hurt, with De'Ami Brown's out, Noah Brown's out, KJ Osborne isn't even ready to play yet. The only time we ever heard his name called against the Falcons was due to a holding penalty on a successful Olamide Zaccheaus screen pass. Austin Eckler, our explosive back, is out. Also our best special team returner, and Austin Eckler as well, out. I mean, we have so many injuries everywhere, and I'm pretty sure even a lot of the offensive linemen that are playing right now that played against the Falcons were banged up, but just fought through it through their injuries to play in that game. Defensively, Marshon Lattimore out. Like, we're sick of not having healthy players right now, so you kind of don't want to put them at risk in a game that, you know, it's technically not inconsequential, because 6th seed and 7th seed could be huge differences, but either way, we've already secured our playoff spot. So I also would like to see backups like Chris Rodriguez play an entire game to see what he does with that, because every time he comes in, even if it's just for a few snaps, he balls out. I mean, check this out right here. Shouts out to Pro Football Focus's Nick Ackridge for this one. Chris Rodriguez Jr. on 35 attempts this season, and he's including the NFL ranks among running backs with at least 35 snaps. So he's taking it all the way down to 35 attempts, 35 run attempts out of all running backs in the NFL. He has a 90.1 run grade. That's 6th out of the entire NFL, out of all running backs. He has 3.91 yards after contact per attempt. That's 3rd in the NFL. And then 0.39 missed tackles forced per attempt. That's 2nd in the NFL out of all running backs. That's including Derrick Henry, Saquon, everybody that you can think of. He is 2nd in the NFL in one metric, 3rd in another, and then 6th in the last one. So I know it's a small sample size, but this guy is ridiculously efficient. It's insane. He's like statistically a top 3 running back in the NFL. When he does get the ball, he just doesn't get it very often. So he's been killing it with the limited carries that he's gotten this season. And then he also had that great catch and hurdle in overtime. I mean, that was like a hands catch. That was like a professional wide receiver catch where the ball was not thrown to like his chest. He had to reach out and grab that. And that was a big time first down for us to keep the chains moving, and then for us to eventually win the game with a Jaden Daniels throw to Zach Ertz. Chris Rodriguez contributed to that. Remember, he had that one drive where he had to break like 8 tackles within like 3-4 carries to get a touchdown for us, and I believe that's the one where we took the lead and everything. So I would love to see a guy like that. I want to see if he can handle the full-time role. Or is he just a guy that only finds success when the defense has already been worn down by other running backs, and then Jaden Daniels running the ball so much that the defense is already tired and worn out? Is that just Chris Rodriguez taking advantage of that? Whereas like guys like Brian Robinson is out there in the first quarter trying to wear down defenses, and then maybe that's why his yards per carry aren't as good as Chris Rodriguez. I strongly believe it's the prior. I believe maybe it's somewhere in the middle, but I'm closer to the prior where Chris Rodriguez is just actually that good. But I feel like the Cowboys game would be a great time to test it out. But at the same time, if he's out there with all backup offensive linemen, then that wouldn't be a truly great way to see if he's actually really that good. So maybe we need to mix it up a little bit. Maybe some starters, maybe some backups. Anybody that's kind of teetering, like maybe they're a little banged up, maybe we should just go ahead and rest those guys. Like even if Marshon Lattimore is healthy and could play against the Dallas Cowboys, maybe we should rest him. But maybe guys like Jaden Daniels, the starting offensive line, Terry McLaurin, and guys like that should play. But anybody that's already kind of banged up, that was limited in practice this upcoming week leading up to the Cowboys games, maybe we should sit those guys. Brian Robinson, who's had a tendency to get banged up or hurt a lot this season, maybe we should sit him and go ahead and start Chris Rodriguez. I feel like maybe like a balance of both, to where you rest the guys who are the most at risk of getting hurt, further hurt, re-aggravating an injury that they've already suffered, but then you also start the guys who should be good to go, and we go ahead and try to get this 6th seed, and at the same time rest some of the guys that have been previously hurt or are currently hurt right now. Don't force anybody to play that shouldn't have to play. I mean, I'm not gonna lie though, I've been telling y'all since we drafted Chris Rodriguez, people shouldn't be too surprised. I can understand being somewhat surprised, especially since again he's like top 2, top 3, top 6, and in different advanced metrics out of all running backs in the entire NFL. But we shouldn't be like extremely surprised that he's this good at making something out of nothing, breaking tackles and all of that. Because in college, when he was at Kentucky, usually more times than not, his offensive line was worse than the opposing defensive line he was going against. He didn't have just a bunch of open holes to run through on offense at his time in college. And I mean, it doesn't help when you're going against SEC opponents all of the time, and then you also have Will Levis as your quarterback. That didn't help at all. So this man is basically used to having to earn every single yard that he's gotten, and that's translating well into the NFL. When he actually does have holes to run through, this guy makes plays. Also, moving on, Dan Quinn spoke about other things after the practice as well, and I feel like some of these are notable. First of all, he loves Jaden Daniels. We all do, but he spoke specifically about how Jaden Daniels' ability to scramble and make plays with his arm and legs still amaze him to this day. Also, he said that the players on this team have now evolved into knowing that they'll win every game that they go into. Quote, Five has a big part of that. He makes some plays the average person does not. There's also a belief in the teammates. One thing I love about coaching these guys, their belief in each other stands out, unquote. So that is a big time mentality to have going into this playoffs, man. We have belief no matter what the situation is, no matter the opponent. Jaden Daniels is going to find a way, and we just need to all do our part, coaching staff, roster-wise, to help that guy put him in a great situation to do what he typically does. Also, Dan Quinn said that he loves the moments on 4th down that extend drives, and also mentioned Jeremy McNichols, the extra effort that he gave on his 4th down catch to set us up, man. That was an insane play right there. I mean, he was stopped clearly a yard short at least, and then all of that extra effort, breaking tackles, stretching out to be able to get that 1st down on 4th down when we needed it real bad was insane. So shouts out to Dan Quinn for honoring him and saluting him. Also, Dan Quinn talked about Zach Ertz. I feel like he deserves a lot of credit for this win. He said, quote, "He's had a huge impact here," unquote. And boy, he was big time. He picked the best time to have his best game of the season. Dan Quinn said that Zach Ertz played more than he thought he would entering the season. I would admit that as well. And said that when they signed him, they thought that they were going to use him in just red zones and that was it, and then just go from there. And thank goodness Zach Ertz has been involved far more than just in the red zone only, because he had that one drive against the Falcons, like I think it was the 3rd quarter, where the entire drive was him. Basically, it was Jaden Daniels and Zach Ertz carrying the team on their backs that entire drive. Dan Quinn also said, quote, "I've had a blast coaching this team. To have a group connected like the way that they are, that's a big deal. Not every team has that. To be on that ride with them, I have gratitude," unquote. And I mean, you have to trust Dan Quinn on that. He's been a defensive coordinator for a Super Bowl winning Seahawks team. He went to the Super Bowl as the head coach with the Falcons, and then he was the defensive coordinator with the Cowboys when they were the best takeaway defense in the entire NFL. This guy's been around. He's seen greatness. He's seen bad times as well. So when you say that, you have to trust and believe that he truly means that. Also, it wasn't all good in this press conference today, though. It was not all peaches and cream. It wasn't all butterflies and sunshine, because he did talk about the ungodly amount of penalties that we had against the Falcons in that victory yesterday. He said that he believes most of them can be cleaned up, but he also talked about the fixes in the meetings that they have are not enough, and that they must work on it on the practice field as well, but also most importantly, execute what they've practiced and talked about in meetings in the game. You can do all this preparation that you want, but when you get in the game, are you ready to actually live up to all of the preparation that you put in the week before? And so thank you, Dan Quinn, for pointing that out. And I agree, man. We won the game, and that's great, of course. We clinched the playoffs and everything, time to celebrate. But just like his press conference today, that game last night wasn't all good. There were a lot of bad things that were mixed in with a lot of the good things and excitement that we had. And I'm happy that he's staying grounded and also making sure that the team stays grounded as well. Basically saying, yeah, we won the game, but we still have a few things that we need to clean up if we really want to go far this season, make the playoffs and things like that. So thank you, Dan Quinn. I feel like that's the perfect mentality to not only have yourself, but to make sure the team has it and that everybody emulates that and lives and breathes that exact same mentality. And then also, last thing before we get up out of here, apparently the New York Jets claimed former Commanders 2022 second-round pick for Darian Mathis on waivers today. I'm not exactly sure where this is headed, because I do believe they're already eliminated from the playoffs. They have no chance of making it into things like that. So I don't know what bringing in for Darian Mathis does. Maybe they're trying to get an early look at him to see if they want to keep him around for next year or something like that. But shouts out to my boy, not Robert Griffin, at pseudo RG3 on Twitter, because he brings up a good point. Maybe Ron Rivera is already consulting for the Jets before he's even officially gotten the job. Because I don't know if y'all have noticed, but it's been reported by Tom Pelissero that the New York Jets are scheduled to interview Ron Rivera for their head coaching job this week. And I do want to point out the fact that he said in his tweet, in 13 seasons with Carolina and Washington, Rivera made the playoffs 5 times, including an appearance in Super Bowl 50, the first of many head coach interviews to come in New York Jets head coaching search. And I mean, hey, we'll take those stats, we'll acknowledge those, but hey, man, we know as Commanders fans, talent evaluation wise is terrible. And I just feel like that's hilarious and crazy that the Jets are planned on interviewing Ron Rivera for the head coaching job for next season, and then they're already bringing in for Darian Mathis towards the end of this season when the season is already lost, to kind of get a head start on evaluating him before the 2025 season. So, hey, man, my boy pseudo Robert Griffin may be joking, but maybe Ron Rivera is already telling them, hey, man, maybe they plan on hiring me, and you may want to take a look at this second-round draft pick that I still believe has a good chance of being a good player, even though the Washington Commanders, as currently set up, and Adam Peters, Commanders, Dan Quinn and all these guys, Joe Witt Jr., we already know Phidarian Mathis is just not going to be good. And I mean, I feel like even best case scenario, he's never going to live up to his second round pick that he was drafted at. But at the same time, Ron Rivera, on the other hand, is over there like, hey man, y'all might want to pick up my guy before y'all hire me. I'm telling y'all, check him out type of thing. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. Shouts out to my grandma because she got me a calendar, like it's a complete Commanders calendar with a bunch of random trivia, random facts and things like that. So every day when I'm doing the video, if it's a trivia question, I'll ask the question in the beginning of the video, then I'll give you the answer at the end, like around this time. But if it's a fact, I'll probably just go ahead and give you that in the beginning, or maybe I'll just save it for the end. We'll see how that goes. But shouts out to my grandma. She got me a Commanders calendar. I'm looking at it right now, and every single day, because y'all know I try to post videos every single day, I will hit y'all with a random Commanders, Redskins, Washington football team, whatever, burgundy and gold fact or trivia question. So make sure you stay tuned for those. And again, if it's a trivia question, I'll give you the answer towards the end of the videos like this. So I salute y'all for making it this far in the video, even without that. And man, of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about the whole Marshon Lattimore situation. How do you feel about the situation? Please let me know in the comment section. Should we rest our starters against the Dallas Cowboys, or should we go all in like Dan Quinn is saying we should, which he plans on doing against the Cowboys to go and get that 6th seed and also to avoid getting swept by the Dallas Cowboys? He didn't say that, but hey man, I'm definitely thinking it. Let's try to avoid getting swept by the Dallas Cowboys this season, even with all of the greatness that we've achieved. Also, let me know how you feel about all of the other comments Dan Quinn had after his press conference. And let me know how you feel about Phidarian Mathis getting picked up by the Jets and Ron Rivera potentially becoming their head coach. And are those things related? Do they have anything to do with each other, or is that just a complete coincidence? Let me know how y'all feel about everything. Of course, leave a like on the way out. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.